have a seat, I think about the day, it's very sunny, I take a pens. Oh, the teacher is asking me for an essay. How do I produce an essay? Why am I reading, exhaling, inhaling? I'm thinking about everything. It's going on in my mind. Why? All the activities that we do are part of cognitive processes, or we use cognitive processes in order to reproduce some actions. But some of them are very, very natural, and we do not pay attention to what's going on in our mind. Why? That is because we internalize some actions and we reproduce them naturally. But what happens in your brain when you write, for example? There are some people investigating that, and some researchers have proposed some models in order to describe all the details in relation to the cognitive process that occur in your mind during the production of L1 writing. But today in this video, we are gonna create a model and we're gonna investigate what's going on in our mind while producing an L2 writing. We have chosen the haze and flower models in order to create another model so we can explain the L2 writing process. So this model was introduced in the 80s, and we have chosen this because of two reasons. First of all, the protocol analysis that was conducted during this creation of the model. It was very, very specific in relation to what was going on in the mind of the guy that was explaining what was happening in his mind, and someone was recording him, so it's very, very specific. And apart from that, I think that, and we agree with Zimmerman in this sense, that this model represents the base for the rest of the models of L1 and L2 writing. It's one of the most useful in terms of the recreation of new models.
And this is the model. As you can see, it has three components: the writing processes, the task environment, and the long-term memory. They are very, very interactive, but it could be more interactive. Actually, I'm gonna introduce you our model now. And there it is. Same components, the writing processes, task environment, the writer's long-term memory, but the writer's long-term memory is bigger because now it's also influencing the rhetorical problem. Okay, what we know about a rhetorical problem is based on in the long-term memory. Okay, so at first sight, we have a very distinctive factor, which is the shape of the items in there. Each of the shapes are going to represent the dominance of L1 or L2 in each of them. Okay, for example, in the case of metacognition, the L2 is dominant in there, but it's also present the L1. In the case of translating, it's only L1 dominant in there, but in case, for example, of linguistic knowledge, it's only L2. There is no use of L1. In terms of arrows and the sequence, this is a very interactive model. All the components are going to interact with each other, and it's very recursive in the sense that it doesn't have a linear sense. It doesn't follow stages. Any of the cognitive processes could occur at any time. In terms of task environment, it's the same. Topic, audience, and exigency with the rhetorical problem, and it's considered the input in this case, as in the SLA class we used to know this. Okay, and the output would be the part of the text produced so far, which is also part of the task environment, and it's the same as in the flowers and haze model. In terms of the writing processes, we split it into 4 different ones, plus the monitoring, which is now the metacognition, because it's a modern approach to this supervising of our teaching and learning and strategies and styles. Okay, so we have planning, drafting, reviewing, but we also have generating. Generating is gonna be part of each of these cognitive processes, in the sense that we are always going to come up with new ideas during the drafting, during the reviewing, during the planning. In terms of planning, it contains the goal setting and the organizing aspects, but there is this providing content new concept based on the long-term memory, because in the sense that the long-term memory is going to give us some information. We're going to use that information in order to set a goal, in order to organize our writing plan. In terms of drafting, we have drafting and not translating not anymore, because in the sense that we are basing our model in an L2 context, an L2 writing production. This concept could be misunderstood, as Zimmerman mentioned in 2000. So translating is part of the drafting, but it's related to the act of translating L1 into L2 or L2 into L1, no more than that. Graphic aspects considered orthographic points, periods, commas, and grammatical synthesis is what you could put in there, what you could develop during your drafting in terms of grammatical competence. Expressions are all the phrases, sentences, and lexical chunks, lexical items that could appear during the drafting, okay? Reviewing in this case is a triangle because it's very recursive. Evaluate can influence editing. Editing could affect the revising. It's revising, evaluating, and editing could affect the evaluation, and evaluation could affect the reviewing, and so on, okay? In terms of the writer's long-term memory, we have 4 different aspects interacting each other very recursively, because one gives some more information to the other, and so on. They are co-constructed, and we are focused in Highland and Matsuda's cultural, educational, and language or linguistic background. That's the reason we created the academic knowledge and the world knowledge, and we complemented it with what we have in Flowers and Haze, which is the rhetorical knowledge and the linguistic knowledge, okay? In linguistic knowledge, we have the L1 and L2 competence, interlanguage, another key concept in SLA, okay? They are going to give us some information, some strategies in order to came up with plans and with the first draftings of our writing process. The rhetorical problem in terms of perception is gonna allow us, as Bonner said, to create a new language, or the other way around. A new language could create another perception of ourselves. And it's right there present in the creation of language. It's a great writing activity. We considered our model very parsimonious because it's a simplification of 3 different models, so it's not full of information, but the concise and precise information. And psychological plausibility is very, very observable in terms of noticing that this is very similar to Flowers and Haze model. It represents what was going on in our mind. Actually, we based this model in our own perception of a great writing activity. We are also L2 learners, so we see our cognitive processes reflected in this model.
So that's our model. It's a very interactive one, right? There are some top-down situations, some bottom-up ones, such as the collection of data in order to produce larger text, or the analysis of this larger text in order to get the errors and mistakes and some corrections. Very, very interactive, all these processes. And, well, for me at least, there was a lacking of a L1 use. So is it really necessary to use all these natural L1 resources in order to write in second language writing? I don't think so. Analyzing our model, it's a very good open question. Thank you for watching the video. I highly recommend that you read some of the references that we use in order to create the entire content of the video and the model itself. There they are.